Good morning. At this time, I am honored to welcome Jess Mione from the Honesdale National Bank, our sponsor today. Jess is a mover and shaker at NEPA. She has created various platforms and programs for her community, and she loves implementing skills like graphic design, organization, photography, and writing. She believes in the social responsibility of designing for the common good, often branding and facilitating public outlets like art markets, open mic nights, film screenings, and other cultural experiences. She received her degree her undergrad and her master's degree, both from Marywood University. She is a proud member of the Leadership Lackawanna Board of Directors, the Lackawanna County Arts and Culture Program, and she is dedicated to her community with a big focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let's give a warm welcome to Jess Mione.
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Nikki. My name is Jess Mione, and today I would like to introduce to you the Honorable Mayor Paige Cognetti. Mayor Cognetti was sworn in as mayor of Scranton on January 6, 2020, and won re-election to a full term on November 2021. Prior to becoming mayor, she advised the Pennsylvania Auditor General on oversight of public school districts and care for older adults. Previously, she served as director on the Scranton School Board. Mayor Cognetti served in the Obama administration as a senior advisor to the Undersecretary for International Affairs at the U.S. Treasury Department. She was a fundraiser and project director on numerous political campaigns and has also worked in the investment advisor in New York City. Growing in Beaverton, Oregon, she now lives in Scranton with her husband and 2 daughters. And Mayor Cognetti received a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Oregon, Clark Honors College, and a master's degree from Harvard. Please welcome Mayor Paige.
Good morning, guys. So nice to see you. Can you hear me okay? It's a pretty small room. I love talking to you guys. And I think some of you have seen me talk before at leadership, different events with Nikki and Jess. In Luzerne and Lackawanna County, as I like to sneak down to Wilkes-Barre once in a while, so I get to talk to you guys and to high schoolers, college, and then also smaller kids as well. So I just have a couple minutes today. Many of you have seen that longer presentation that I kind of go back through my background. The theme of that is, if not you, who? So as you talk to people today, as you see the journeys that people have been on, as you hear from people like Dr. Lauren about the fact that our journey is never over. We're always trying to aspire to be that person that we want to be. That journey never ends, but it's exciting in that way, right? I went through a situation yesterday. I'm my worst critic. We're all our worst critic. I'm trying to really get to that point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this setback for good. I'm going to motivate myself even more, because if it's not me on a stage somewhere, if it's not me at City Hall working on someone's problem, I'm not sure who it's going to be, and I really want it to be me, because I know that I have equity in mind. I know that I have everyone's interests in mind. Not everybody who sits in a mayor's office or in a position of power is thinking about everyone. So that's kind of my purpose. The way I see about these things is that if it's not me, it might be somebody who's only in it for themselves, right? It might be somebody who doesn't think about every generation and making sure that we have an earth that's sustainable for you guys and for my kids and for their kids and for everybody behind. I worry, if it wasn't me in the job I'm in, that we wouldn't be thinking about DEI issues. We wouldn't be thinking about the way that our city employees need to look like the city residents of Scranton, right? We've done a lot of work to do that. We've come a really long way in 4 years. So every day I wake up, it's hard. Every moment of the day, there's some text on my phone of so-and-so did this, or this didn't happen, or so-and-so's asking. There's always something. But as much as that can be a grind, at the end of every day, I'm grateful that I'm in this position. I'm grateful for the work I've done to get here and for all the people who have helped me get here. I'm also really, really motivated by the fact that it's got to be me, not me specifically, but people like me and our team that are trying to think through every single person's interest and every group's interest. It's not every day in northeastern Pennsylvania that we have leadership that is thinking through all those things. We're still kind of fighting it out. I think I can say in this room that we're still working toward equity, not just gender equity in our governments at the local level. We're still fighting for people to understand that like LGBTQ issues are about people. LGBT folks are people that have rights, and we need to push that forward. That we have Black families and brown families that have been here for many generations. This isn't new. But we also need to welcome the new families that are moving here and have them be part of our success. We deal with this on a daily basis, and it's our job at the city of Scranton, I think in all of northeastern Pennsylvania, to really try to get everybody moving in the same direction, built on a foundation of respect, built on a foundation of success for everyone. I think Dr. Lauren's words are really going to resonate with me for a long time to come, about respect for yourself, being your best version of yourself in order to be that person for others. We've got to make sure that we're growing together. That's going to start with you guys, yourselves, and being the best versions of yourself. And it's going to help as we try to do that as a community to make sure that we're understanding that it's not just this little pie that we're all trying to get little scoops of. We can all be successful at the same time. So we're going to continue to work really, really hard at the city of Scranton. And once you guys get past high school into your post-high school and college years, we do internships at the city, and we've got relationships all over the whole region. Now we have a mayor's group in the Northeast. We have a mayor's group across the whole state. Mayors are always looking for talent like you guys who care about your community. So always think about government, and really we need people like you in government in the long term. It doesn't have to be your career forever, but it is something that's really important because government is a starting point for a lot of things, and the focus, the people, the values, and the concentration and the focus of a local government really does set the stage for how a community treats each other and for the type of services and programs that are in place. So I'm so honored to be here. It really is just a tremendous honor every time I get to speak to you guys, because you guys are in this room because you care, and we need caring people to continue to lead our community. So thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Thanks for being a little more informal. I'd like to welcome Kathryn Bondi. Kathryn Bondi is the design manager at Posture Interactive, a creative agency in Scranton that focuses on website design and marketing. And previous to this, she was the creative director at NetDriven, an internet marketing company where she mastered the art of making the entire industry look fun. That also made me laugh. She is currently the Lieutenant Governor of the American Advertising Federation, AAF of NEPA, and if you are interested in graphic design and advertising, I highly suggest joining. She's on the NEPA District 2 board, and previous, she served in the AAF of NEPA board of directors for 9 years. In addition, she's been an adjunct instructor at Marywood and University of Scranton. She's presented at TEDx Scranton, the Young Professionals Conference, and the Entrepreneurial Institute Conference. In her spare time, she makes her own cheese and enjoys home-brewed beer with her husband, and she holds a bachelor's degree from Marywood. Please welcome Kathryn.
Hello. Who's excited to talk about, oh wait, we need a minute. So while we're waiting for that to switch over, there it is. Who's excited to talk about social media today? Yeah. Who's excited to not be in school today? Yeah! So thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited. It's really hard to follow and act like the Honorable Paige Cognetti and Dr. Lauren. They're both amazing women in our industry and in our local community. And today I'm really excited to talk to you about kind of an aspect of what I do and what I've been doing for the past over a decade as a graphic designer, where my career has kind of shifted is into the realm of social media and digital marketing. How many people here have thought about maybe a career in social media, digital marketing? How many people want to be influencers? Nobody. Oh, wow. What I thought was really interesting, everyone, thank you for filling out the pre-survey questionnaire. Seeing where you're at on social media was really interesting. A lot of people were still saying Facebook. Is this real? Is this true? Yeah? We still spend a lot of time on Facebook? Show of hands. How many people are doing research on Facebook? We're kind of using that as like a news source. Yeah, a little bit? Okay. But I did see a lot of TikToks on there, which is, honestly, I'm into the TikTok. I'm totally fine with that too. So one of the things I want to talk to you about today is kind of where the industry is going. So if this is something that you're considering doing as a career, things to think about, but also as you're consuming social media, some things that may be going on in the background or kind of as you're bringing this content into your world, as Dr. Lauren said, just kind of becoming part of that noise, being really conscious of how you're consuming media, because it really can have an impact on how you're getting into the workforce or how your outlook on your own personal health is. So one of the first things that we've really been noticing, so I'm glad no one said they wanted to be an influencer actually, is that influencers are dead. What does that mean? So authentic content is kind of where we're seeing a lot of more success, especially in the marketing world, but also with what you're resonating with on your own devices and what you're scrolling and looking at every day. So authentic content, what does that mean? That refers to really things that are going to be more like you're not being sold to, right? Like how many people are on TikTok and you immediately scroll when you get like that inkling that it's an ad, right? Like you're like, absolutely not, yeah. I do the same thing. Like your brain just kind of subconsciously picks that up, right? I'm being sold to. This is not authentic content. And that's kind of what was happening with influencers, is as they started to kind of grow and change and how they were sponsoring and getting sponsors, people got that idea that, ooh, I don't like this. This is icky. And then influencers were going into hotels and demanding free nights, and they would give bad reviews if they didn't get a free night. So there's a lot of these negative connotations with influencers too. And we even saw, does anyone know the first girl here, Emily? Does she look familiar? Yeah. I love her because I'm a graphic designer. And I was following her like, oh, that's so cool. She's like actually a real designer that's going out there and doing these like totally janky logo designs of like Starbucks and like Microsoft and all these like hilarious takes on logos. And like it was doing really well, right? She got really popular, started growing a following. And what started to happen is all these brands were starting to notice, right? Some of these brands like Starbucks and Microsoft were like, do me next. So what we started seeing happening with her account is that she took on more of an influencer status. She was getting sponsored. People were paying her and sending her products. And all of a sudden her content didn't start to feel as authentic as it initially did when she was just having fun, right? So that's where people are starting to back off of influencers, is we feel like it's not real anymore. Starbucks probably paid her to do that video so that it would just be something that people would see on their feed, right? Does anyone know Michaela? Is that one that we're familiar with? Yeah. How do we feel about Michaela right now? Yeah. Why is that? Why do you have this negative feeling of Michaela? Shout it out. Scandal, yes. Major scandal with the fake lashes and L'Oreal, right? So this is what's happening again, is that once they get to this level of, yeah.
Can you just explain that, because I don't know.
Yeah. That's totally fine. So Michaela originally started doing makeup tutorials and was starting as a content creator. And again, she got really big. People were like, wow, this girl is so real. She is authentic. We love her. We resonate with her. She's got a hot Boston accent. And so people really like that about her. And then all of a sudden, she's doing these tutorials that are kind of picking up more on like, this brand is the only brand I'm talking about today, or this product is what I really love. But like, didn't you say like a couple months ago that you actually hated that product? And so she actually was doing I feel like the tipping point was she was doing a L'Oreal mascara review, but she was also wearing false lashes, and people were calling her out saying like, this is not real, it's not authentic, you're just being paid off by L'Oreal. And so that's, again, where this type of influencer persona becomes a big problem in the industry. And kind of what you're consuming as content is, this person isn't authentic anymore. I don't resonate with this person. So a lot of times what we have done is encouraged, not really influencers, but content creators is kind of what we're calling them in the industry now. We're kind of encouraging people to do authentic content. Who knows this guy? Yeah, like almost everyone in the world knows this guy. So Mr. Beast built his following on YouTube, right? Ooh, I just hit a button that I didn't want to hit. Let's go back. So Mr. Beast, how many people know his sponsors? Do you know, like, does he have sponsors? Does he, like, are there some that you're aware of?
I know he has sponsors.
Yeah. But it's not like knowing like Michaela and L'Oreal, right? Like it's not synonymous with Mr. Beast. And this is what we saw a lot on YouTube, right? Is the birth of YouTube. Before we had Reels on Instagram, before we had TikTok videos, we had YouTube where content creators were king, right? They roamed the internet, and they could actually have a paid platform where they were doing paid ads, but they weren't necessarily always having to do sponsored content. They could just create their own content, and then yeah, maybe you pay for an ad, or maybe you have an ad if you have like an unpaid YouTube account, but you're really not getting pummeled with like, this content creator is only telling me about L'Oreal mascara. So this is someone, and there's other content creators out there, but I pulled this as the easiest one to talk about. He now has his own brands, obviously, but when you look at even his profile, he's like, not really pushing an agenda. He's just trying to do cool things that's interesting content, and he's got really nice initiatives with giving away free things and donating to all these different charities. So really someone that's capitalizing on that. They've created this following, but they're not getting this impression from people that they're paid off, right? They're still creating some sort of authentic content. And he's actually doing all these things still. He's not like sending someone else out to do it and capitalizing on that either. So that kind of leads into this next topic, and this is going to kind of become a big feature here that we're going to talk about, is that posting has a lot more power than lurking. How many people here post on your feeds? Like actually post like updates or videos or photos? How many people here just scroll into your eyes closed, just lurking? That's what I do. So I usually will like just kind of like scroll, and not really thinking about what I'm consuming. Like Dr. Lauren said, it's kind of becomes noise after a while, right? And you don't realize the power you have of being in that top 10% of people that are actually posting content. 90% are lurkers. That's an actual statistic. So when you are posting, you're getting your voice out there, and you're getting into the stream, and you're getting heard. So if there is a topic that you care about, or a career that you're interested in, or a group that you want to be a part of or network with, you can get a lot of power behind creating a post and being a part of that network. This is a really great chart just in general for anyone in this room, whether you're a student or someone working with an actual brand. This is a really great way to kind of see how people consume their content. And this is actually listed from most popular to least popular social media platform. So for those of you that said Facebook, you're kind of really in this idea of photos and live video and kind of using that for your information feed and getting a lot of content that way. So that's really what I would even use Facebook for at this point. And local marketing too. So local advertising still does really well on Facebook. So if you're looking for events in your area or things to do or places to eat or whatever it is, Facebook still does really good for that. And also Facebook Marketplace has kind of catapulted them too. They've eclipsed Craigslist, I think like 2 or 3 years ago in terms of actual sales. So Facebook has always kind of had that staying power, but YouTube, again, is still like really high up there because people have a lot more creative freedom on YouTube with what they're able to put out in terms of content. So something to consider as you're scrolling through TikTok and kind of considering, why am I getting so many ads now versus YouTube? You really can, even on the free YouTube accounts, you can still kind of skirt the ads for the most part. It's not as bad, and now they have YouTube Shorts, which are basically Reels and all that stuff. But Instagram is definitely more where we see kind of our sweet spot too in terms of millennials and Gen Z. How many people have an Instagram account? How many people have a Finstagram? Fewer hands. This is actually something I learned from my interns that is becoming more of a trend. And something to think about too is if you have a public Instagram, everyone can see it, and that includes college admissions people, that includes people maybe with scholarship committees, that includes people that may be hiring you potentially for a part-time or full-time job. So things to think about if you do have a public account, maybe switch it over to private and see if you want to protect yourself a little bit more because those things are so public, and that's kind of where we get into talking about like who's really lurking. But if you are trying to get out there and kind of get a little bit more recognition, whether you're involved in this group, this is a great group of people. You're doing things out in the community, you're getting education outside of high school, that's wonderful. Use these things to talk about it. That's something that will get you noticed and get you picked up by whether you're trying to get into a really cool internship potentially, or whether you're looking at a new college that you may be really interested in, or an apprenticeship program, whatever you're doing after high school. If you have an industry that you're really interested in, this is the way to get noticed by your industry. So trending sounds, I think everyone's pretty familiar with that with TikTok, right? We always know that trending sounds do well on TikTok. That also goes for some of our other platforms with Instagram and Facebook as well. Location tags, and I say use this with caution just because you don't always want everyone to know your location. But if it's at a professional event like this is a great way to tag a location of Kalahari, or if you were at a chamber event, tag the Chamber of Commerce. They're going to see that and they're going to go, wow, these students are like really engaged because they're going to these events and we can see that they're attending. So it gives you some visibility in terms of who your network is and kind of growing your network. Because it's really hard to kind of do that digitally, right? Like ever since the pandemic, we're all like, oh my God, like we have to like Zoom with everyone and we have to like get into people's DMs and like how do you get someone to notice you? And that's really a great way to do it is tagging locations, because even when have you ever like searched a location that someone tags on like Instagram and it brings up that grid of like you can see everyone that posted that location? So again, it's just giving you a little bit more visibility in that sense too. Collaborators are a great one too. Has anyone actually used the collaboration tool? Yeah, there we go. This is a relatively new thing in Instagram, but we've actually been encouraging, at our agency, we're encouraging a lot of clients to use this because, again, it's a really easy way to like team up with somebody and kind of like take their following and make it part of your own following. So say there's a podcaster that you really like and you're really resonating with their content and you went to go tour their podcast studio. We do have a local podcast studio in Kingston, Wilkes-Barre. So you could then co-post with them and they will absolutely be a collaborator because they want that notoriety as well. You'll get on their feed and someone could say like, wow, like all these 3 million followers of this podcaster are seeing your content too and seeing that you're interested in what they're talking about. So it's a really cool way to just get yourself in front of a new audience if there's something that you're trying to do to get yourself out there. And then hashtags. Does anyone actually use hashtags? Yeah, a little bit. How many people have searched in the search bar on Instagram? Like use that to like search for information or, yeah, we use the search bar a lot. Hashtags feed that search function. So that's how you're able to follow certain hashtags. You can actually do that on Instagram as well. But really, the hashtags are still pretty relevant, even on TikTok, even though people throw like the garbage hashtags in there, like Doritos challenge, whatever. People are still using those to kind of like boost their posts. But in general, the algorithms are still trying to use hashtags in a smarter way. But I think one thing definitely to think about, and I feel like everyone knows this guy right here, is be mindful of who's lurking and who's seeing your content. And this is not meant to scare anybody, but it is a real thing that can happen. I think the story from the Chick-fil-A girl is that she was like removed from the schedule, but she wasn't fired because it was causing like too much drama at their Chick-fil-A location and everybody was coming. So, I mean, I don't even know if that's even true. That was like somebody that went on and said they were her boss. But there are instances where people have posted about their job or at their job and doing whatever, and the people at your job can see that. It is on the internet. I actually had my cousin, she owns her own salon, and somebody was doing the Real Time or Be Real? Be Real. And they were like, doing a front back picture of like their desk and saying, my boring ass job that I definitely want to leave. And then she's like, let me do you a favor. You can leave it. So be careful of what you're putting out there because you never know who's going to read it and who's going to say something. And that's why you can have your Finstagram and have your private comments and your private posts with your group of friends. That's totally fine. Do it on Snapchat with just your group of friends. That's totally fine. But just be careful of what's getting out there to the people that actually care about what you're saying. And we actually even had a similar situation at my job where we were looking to hire somebody and we're gonna lurk. We're gonna look at people's social media when we're looking to hire them. It's a fact of hiring in this environment these days. And we're like, great, their LinkedIn looks awesome, their Instagram has really great content and examples of creative work that we want to see. And then we looked at their Facebook and they were posting about a previous job. And they were naming names, they were saying all the terrible things, and they were just not happy about this previous job. And we were like, yo, if they're saying that about that job, what are they gonna say about us? So it really does kind of paint you in a different light. So you do have to be careful about, again, just the content that you're putting out there. Next, the truth is hard to find. So how many people use social media for research? Like, have you ever just been like, let me look this up, and you go to social media to look it up first? Yeah, it's a temptation to do. I do it all the time too. I try to go to Google first because I'm hoping I'll get like a news article or a Wikipedia article. But again, like Dr. Lauren said, there are a lot of great resources out there for research and finding truth that are going to help get you closer to the source of truth. Whereas social media, when you have a post of a share of a post of a post, sometimes is a little harder to track down that paper trail, right? So one of the things, is anyone familiar with this video, the Stanley? Yeah. So there was a car fire, and someone had their Stanley in the car fire, and this was like, oh my God, a testament to Stanley, that the Stanley Cup survived. And we have some Stanley stands in here, I can see it. So they actually had like ice water still in the cup too, I think. Like there was legit ice. And I was like, wow, that is such a cool testament to the brand. Like how great that that happened. How many people like thought that really happened? I did. I legit was like, that's great. And then I was talking about this with my graphics class at the University of Scranton, and they said, Kat, that didn't happen. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like that how could that not happen? They have a video of everything. And like, they were like, go look it up. There's 100 videos debunking it, people trying to disprove it, and there's a guy that was posting about, hey, I'm blah, blah, blah from Stanley, and I'm going to give her a free car because we're so sorry that your car burned down, but you gave us this great story to tell. And then you have to start wondering, who's benefiting from this, right? There's a brand behind it. At the end of the day, there's someone getting something out of this story. So how much truth is there to the story? So it's something that you really have to continually ask yourself as you're consuming content on social media is who is benefiting from this information? And if there is someone at the end of that thread, maybe we need to look into the source and maybe we need to decide if this is true or not. There's a couple instances of that back on 2016 election cycle. How many people, how old are you guys like in 2016? Like definitely not voting age. But so is this, anything like this feel familiar? Are you still seeing this kind of resonating on Facebook a little bit? Some of this stuff is still hanging out there. So 2016 really taught us that you cannot trust social media. You just can't. That propaganda has been around since the free press started. And if that's something that is always going to be, that's always going to be something that you can create an opportunity for, regardless of the media that you're using to get it out there. So that's something that you really do have to be careful of the sources. And again, question who's benefiting from this information. Track down the original poster. Track down, look at the dates. For all the things that come, even on TikTok, people reshare things on TikTok. Have you ever looked at a TikTok video and gone, oh my God, wait, that's from like 2 years ago? Yeah, it still happens. People are pulling out old content and capitalizing it because they can kind of get something out of it, whether it's, a new trending sound or something else. They're able to take that older content and respin it into something new, take it totally out of context. And so those are still things that we need to be very careful of when we're consuming this kind of content. Again, like Dr. Lauren says, cut through that noise, listen to podcasts, watch documentaries. I'm a big fan of Netflix documentaries. And even those, you still have to be careful of how people are presenting the view and how they're painting people in a certain light. There still can be some very subjective things there. Next, I want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. So how many people are on LinkedIn or have thought about being on LinkedIn? Yeah, the back of the room is definitely like, yeah, we love LinkedIn, we're networking. I learned to love it. I'm not a huge LinkedIn person. I probably log in there maybe like once a week. But LinkedIn is very, very powerful. So I like to say it's like the least loved social media, but there's a lot that you can do with it. And as you enter your future careers, there is a lot that you can leverage within LinkedIn. So I would definitely encourage you, number one, if there's one thing that you do walking away from this session, make a LinkedIn profile. I swear they're not paying me. It's just really easy to do. But it helps kind of get you out there, get you visible, and really start building what your experience is. You're a part of this Leadership Northeast. You went to this Empower conference. You can put that on your LinkedIn. You can post on LinkedIn that you went here and take a picture and send it out. In fact, I encourage everyone to take pictures today and post them on some sort of professional platform. But there's a lot of opportunity here as well for engaging directly with professionals. And why is that important? So I've had many people actually reach out to me directly, whether they're interested in graphic design or just want to chat or want to start growing their network, whatever it is. And I blanked out names, but I feel like that didn't totally protect people here. So a lot of instances that I've seen are people just wanting to get coffee and like, hey, can we connect over coffee and just do, talk about how we can work together in the future, or maybe I just want to have someone to fall back on and share ideas with. And this is a really great way to just get in front of people and get noticed, because sometimes our email inboxes are super full, our social feeds are super full, but if someone's going to directly message me and ask a specific question, I'm going to take the time to answer them. Like 90% of the time, I will come back and say, yes, let's meet up. Or I'll be honest, like Dr. Lauren, say, no, I don't want to do lunch, but here's a really great way that we can connect, or I can give you feedback on your portfolio. So actually, that was the instance in this second one, was somebody that actually applied for a job and said, hey, like, I really want to know like why I didn't get it, and just kind of give me more information on what I could do to improve myself. So this actually went a lot longer, but I just gave you kind of the high level here of like, oh, here's the link to what we really truly are looking for, and then I kind of expanded on, you didn't have a lot of digital stuff in your portfolio. We're looking for somebody that's really digital heavy and does a lot of UX design, and I really just saw more like print branding and things like that. So this is a resource for you to get direct feedback on how you can be better prepared for the job that you want. So as you're getting into college and getting into whatever your career focus is, these are things that you can use as resources to help get you there. How many people actually know like what you want to major in or what you want to do? For those of you that don't have hands up, get on here and start asking questions. This is a great resource to really directly reach out to people. If you're like, I kind of like graphic design, but I don't know if I like truly want to do that, or I kind of like video game design, but I don't know if I could like figure out like the coding part of it. Get out there and ask people. More often than not, they'll give you really direct answers and be really honest with you. So I think it's just such a cool tool that we really don't take advantage of, is being able to find these people directly, follow them. I follow a whole bunch of people on LinkedIn that I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that like I'm friends with this person. I can see the kinds of things they're doing. But there are also people in my network that if I was like, hey, I just want to bounce some ideas off you. My agency is struggling with X, Y, and Z. Has your agency ever done that? I have that conduit now where I can talk to that person. So how many people have used AI in some capacity in their life? Yeah? Oh, okay, nice. How many people have done research for school using AI? A couple, two, three, okay. How many of us are familiar with this guy over here, all the way on the side? Over here, yeah, we like him a lot. So ChatGPT, right, is a wonderful tool. I am all for it. And in fact, I have used it in many capacities, especially at a creative agency, where we'll use that to do research faster. So the pitfall of that is if you're doing, your entire paper through ChatGPT, then that your teachers, first of all, are going to pick up on it, right? They're going to be like, that wasn't really your voice. I know how you write when you're writing stuff by hand. And number two, it starts to all kind of sound the same after a while, right? ChatGPT runs in this kind of like echo chamber of learning from the internet, and then the internet teaching it back, and all the things start kind of just sounding the same. But what we can use AI for is use it as a tool to make our lives better. How many people have used ChatGPT to make a list for like how you're going to tackle your day or your chores? Yeah, Jess has got it. So it can be used in other capacities like that, where it's actually, the machine learning in it is also good at organizing things, or good at kind of giving suggestions on how to kind of get to the next step. So even if you were like, I don't know what to do for like my next job or my next job interview, or if I'm not sure what I want to go to college for, give me some actionable steps on how I can, research the next phase of my career. Or do I want to go take a year off and then do an apprenticeship? So I think there's some things in there that you can kind of use to work through in AI. And even like, I don't have that one up here, but there's one called OtterBot, which I don't know if anyone here uses, but I love OtterBot. It actually like latches onto your video meetings and starts recording things. It's kind of scary actually, but it'll actually take everyone's speaking, like their audio, and it'll take like, okay, person one, person two, and then actually start transcribing it. And then in a column next to that, it starts summarizing all the main points from the meeting and all of your key takeaways and action items based on what people said. It's able to actually take that out of the whole conversation and give you takeaway items. Can you imagine letting that run while like teachers are talking in school and then you don't have to take notes? Oh my God. But at least it's giving you the high level of things. So you can still go back, listen to the recording, watch it. Theoretically, that could work in a school setting, but you have to have it on like a video call. So unless you're doing a Zoom session, that wouldn't work. But an example of how we can use AI to be smarter about what we're doing, kind of get ourselves to an endpoint faster. An example that I have here is, this is actually a very typical thing that we do, is kind of give me some prompts, give me some prompts on how I could do a social media post, promoting new training courses. So I use it as an example, like maybe I'm doing a training course. So I have this whole social media training course, and maybe I just want someone to kind of get excited about getting a paid subscription. So then ChatGPT gave me some examples of how I can do social posts to get people excited. So you've probably seen this, and again, when you get those like posts or videos, you're like, oh my God, this content feels like so lame, and like I've read it a million times. It's probably because it was written by ChatGPT. But you can go in and use that as a jumping off point and start editing things, creating your own spin on it. So I took it a step further and said, okay, can you help me write a script to introduce this video? ChatGPT said, I got you. So they basically did like all of the stage directions. It says that it's going to start with the camera looking on me and looking really enthusiastic. And then there's a voiceover that says, are you ready to take your skills to the next level? And so everything, it thought about how the voiceover goes, how the music goes, how the shots go. And it was just taking all of this based off of learning, again, machine learning from other scripts that are out there. So I took it another step further, and I said, okay, if we're gonna do that, and I have my posts, I have my video script, I need a plan now. I need a plan to get it out into the universe. And I said, could you help me get this announced by next month? And it goes, okay, sure. And it gives me then a day by day and then week by week plan on how to start thinking about getting this out into the world. This is where things start getting really powerful. I don't really care so much about writing the content, writing a school paper. Like, that's really not where this is going to help you shine. You still have to have creativity. You still have to have individual thought. You still have to come up with your own ideas at the end of the day. But this can help you organize that information. This will help you get to a point where you're being smarter about how you're putting your information together. So that's the caveat with AI, but I don't think it's going anywhere. I think your future jobs are going to be built off of it, just like we now have social media content creators as a job. I had to tell someone the other day that UX design is a job that, when Jess and I were in school, was not a graphic design job, and that's primarily what I do a lot of now. In addition to branding and graphic design, I do UX. That's user experience. That's how somebody just interacts with a video or a website. That's a job now, and AI is going to take that to the next level too. Final rule, number 6, is mind your mental health. So this is something that I think everyone's very much aware of, but I definitely want to keep driving home that it never goes away. It doesn't get better when you get older. I'm still there looking at social media going, oh my God, like these girls are so pretty with all their little filters, and I'm just sitting here looking like a total slob with like looking down at my phone. So it's definitely something that's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But like Dr. Lawrence said, how you perceive yourself and how you listen to this noise and how you're able to block out the noise is really going to change how you value yourself. How many people are familiar with the bold glamour filter? Yes, we love the bold glamour filter. I actually don't. I think it makes me look like the prince from Shrek. It gives me like this super big jawline. But I love that, it's cool that AI is going in that direction. Again, I think it's super smart. I love that there's so much technology behind it, all the learning that happened. But at the end of the day, it makes you kind of feel crappy, doesn't it? When you see all these people that aren't even tagging the filter. So then you're kind of tricked into thinking this is how people really look. But when they take the filters off, you're like, oh, no, they're just real humans. But that's just, again, subconsciously, we've always had things to fight as girls and women in body image departments, and young people in general have always had trouble with body image. And now we have to worry about filters that make everybody look amazing. It's not fair. So really take that into consideration as you're consuming content consciously. Is someone maybe using a filter? I don't have to feel like crap. People are real. People look like human beings. And these are just kind of some of the things that are always going to kind of fall into the back of your head as you're consuming content. So whether it's going to enhance anxiety, depression, body image. The real big one here, though, is sleep quality. How many people fall asleep with their phones next to them? I'm guilty. I do it. And I have tried everything to get it away from me. I have this watch now as my alarm instead of my phone. And it's a really bad habit to break when we're so tethered to our phones and our devices. But getting it away from you, you don't even realize how much that light kind of being washed in the blue light and being doom scrolling and still getting assaulted. Like we said, the 24-hour news cycle, that's crazy. That like 24 hours a day we're being assaulted with information. Like when I was growing up, pre-social media, you had like a 9 to 5 news cycle, and that's when you got your news, and you weren't always thinking about all the awful things that are going on in the world. That's not great for your sleep. So if we're going back to Dr. Lauren's theory of you need good sleep to feed your body, you gotta learn to turn off the noise. And here's some really good tactics. Does anyone actually use the time trackers in your phone? Like whether you have an Apple or an Android device, there's like innate like time trackers and sleep time things. Take advantage of them because they're free, they're built in, and they will help you limit your distractions and limit your time on apps. I love them. But there's also a really great one called Freedom that works across different devices. So it'll work on your phone, your tablet, or your computer to block anything that you find a distraction. You can kind of tell it to block certain apps, certain websites, or emails. And then Forest, if you're someone that likes gamifying things and you like doing like fun activities and games, I love that kind of stuff. Forest is one that actually plants seeds that grow every day that you don't look at your phone. It's actually like really cool. So I would definitely encourage you to check out some of these features if you haven't. It can really help you kind of shut out that noise, give yourself some time to just digest and break away from things. So in summary, here are the main points that I'm trying to get across. But overall, the biggest thing here is just be conscious of how you're consuming content. It's a really big thing that's become part of our lives, and there's industries built around it and careers built around it, and it's something you can really capitalize and make your own career. But it's really important to just be aware of what's going on behind the scenes with a lot of these social apps. So thank you for having me, and if anyone would love to talk about LinkedIn or graphic design or want to chat with me, I'm up here as well to answer questions afterward, unless there are any questions now. Yes?
This might be like a school topic or something. Kathryn and I both taught graphic design courses, and like, I don't know if you've ever had to like bring up the design resume or whatnot, but like email, I find that like make a professional email. Like nowadays, I think like high schools all have like emails integrated with their high school. Like we didn't have that. We didn't have that. Like, so it's like when you're starting to apply to jobs and things, like I don't know, employers probably don't want to see like starfish gummy bear 189.
Yeah.
Make a professional email. I don't know. Just thought I'd say that.
Yeah, professional pages go along with professional emails of just, sometimes you need to do a digital cleanse and kind of like get some of the old things out of there. Like I had pictures from college that I definitely needed to like untag myself from and get out of there. So it's definitely not a bad thing to kind of reassess your digital presence once you start getting out into the workforce, for sure. Yeah.
In regards to the 10% who are posting, how important is it for you to have a brand that speaks to who you are? Like, do people get confused if they're seeing you sort of all over the place? Or do you want to have like one central, this is who I am, when you're posting?
I think that depends on kind of who you're posting for. So if we're thinking about the different audiences on those different platforms, and maybe, you know, I'm trying to get myself out there in terms of like an educator and a speaker, then yeah, it definitely is important that I post consistent content. Like that's why I kind of have like different platforms for different needs. Like when I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, I'm generally like very professional. When I'm on Instagram, I kind of like do my like shit posts, where I'm just like throwing things on stories. I'm like, haha, that's funny. But I know that I have a different audience on there. I know that a lot of the people that are in my professional circles, they're casually on Instagram, but they're definitely not looking for me to be a guiding source of information on Instagram in any sense of the term. Same with like TikTok. Like my TikTok is a cat account basically for my cat Earl. You can go follow him. Hey, Early Bird. But he's definitely not going to make me independently wealthy anytime soon. But it's just really fun. And for me, it was more of a research thing of like I want to understand the platform. Like whenever a new platform comes out, I'm immediately on it because I want to figure out what makes it tick. How do people post content? What does the algorithm feel like? So always embracing other platforms is something really smart that you can do to just stay relevant. Because I guarantee you, anybody that's going to be hiring you in the near future is going to be like, can you just like figure out social media for me? That's kind of like the direction that things are going. So in terms, to answer your question, yeah, I think it's important to know who your audience is on each of those platforms, and you can definitely have a consistent voice for that. But always know that you have options between the different platforms.
As a follow-up question, what do you see as the future for Pinterest?
That's a really good question. And I talk about it a little bit in my other session today. But Pinterest has definitely become more monetized. They actually just recently went public, like they are on the stock exchange now. And they're definitely creating more of an ad model where like they're getting brands like Wayfair and Amazon and Temu really integrated into their app and kind of creating this environment where like you want to pin it, but you also want to buy it. So they've gotten smart about changing that model. It used to be very much, I think, more like Instagram, and that it's like a lifestyle app, and like let's like plan a pin board for my wedding. But now it's like let's plan. Oh, I'm going to have these things from Amazon. I'm going to have these things from Wayfair. I'm going to have a bajillion things from Temu because everything's super cheap, but I have to wait 3 months. And like that's the way that people are planning now through Pinterest. Is it's almost like a shopping list more than it's like an idea board.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't have a question, but more so a comment. So my name is Caitlin. I'm a digital content creator. So I work for the Big Mountain Research Bureau. So I create, my primary job is creating TikToks and Reels. And prior to that, I was a nurse in the ER. But if anyone has any questions about working in social media or with, about being a content creator, please come to me.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, cool. Thanks so much, everyone.